SM Kwame.
Okay.
He's coming, but I'm not sure when. Tina said he's coming. Hi, Nancy.
Nancy.
All right, let me know when you're ready. Oh, okay. All right, let's call this meeting to order at 6:33. I've put a link in the chat for those who are attending remotely to please sign in. Are we recording? Okay, great. Okay, so good evening and thank you for coming to CEC 15. No, I don't need a mic, no mic. Thank you for coming to CEC 15's June calendar meeting. Today's Tuesday, June 17th, 2025. I'm CEC 15 President Antonia Ferraro Martinelli. I'll be calling this meeting to order at 6:33. Before we call the roll, I'm going to turn it over to the interpreters to introduce themselves in their languages. Let's start with Mandarin, please. I can't hear the Mandarin interpreter. Are they?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to turn on audio. Sorry about that. OK， 中文热线347-966-4114，ID 是625-010-355，井号键。再说一遍，347-966-4114，ID 是625-010-355，井号键。Mandarin completed.
Hey, and Spanish?
Good evening. Buenas noches. Si necesita interpretación en español, por favor marque desde su teléfono el número 347-966-4114 e ingrese el código de conferencia o número PIN 212-065-864 símbolo numeral. Repito la información para llamar y recibir interpretación en español. Marque el número de teléfono 347-966-4114 e ingrese el código de conferencia 212-065-864 símbolo numeral. Please, the person in charge of the Spanish line, I need to be admitted because I was disconnected. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna connect you. And Bangla, please.
শুভ সন্ধ্যা। আপনারা যদি অনুষ্ঠান বাংলায় শুনতে চান আপনারা ডায়াল করতে পারেন 347-966-4114। নাম্বারটা আবার হলো 347-966-4114। তারপর আপনারা একটা পিন নাম্বার দিবেন, ওটা হলো 654-649-126#। পিন নাম্বারটা আবার হলো 654-649-126#। ধন্যবাদ। থ্যাংক ইউ।
Hey, thank you. And a reminder to everybody in the room and everybody on the Zoom, please sign the attendance sheet in the link or sign it in the back of the room, please. I will turn it over to my secretary, Nancy Cruz, to call the roll.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'll call the roll. Councilmember Antonia
Here.
Councilmember Leslie King.
Here.
Councilmember Vanessa Gonzalez Roca. Councilmember Nancy Cruz present. Councilmember Katina Rogers.
Here.
Councilmember Jonathan Davis.
Present.
Councilmember Hans Arieta is absent. Councilmember Donaldo Chumney. Councilmember Nancy Randall, excused absence. Councilmember Kwame Egerton.
Okay,
With that, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we do not have.
the amount of quorum, it's possible that some people might come later, so that may change. All right, I'll turn it over to Leslie King to read the introductions.
Thank you for coming to the District 15 Community Education Council tonight. We appreciate your time and we are glad that you could join us. For those of you who are new to the CEC meetings, there are 32 CECs throughout the city plus 4 citywide councils. Each CEC represents a community school district, and each is made up of 12 volunteer members, 10 of whom are elected by parents in the district. The remaining members are appointed by Brooklyn Borough President and 2 high school student members. CEC 15 is a state mandated public body responsible for ensuring that public school parents and the public have input in educational decisions that are made at the school district level. Our council reviews education policies and advocates for high quality education that benefit all of our District 15 public elementary and middle school students. CEC 15 serves 38 elementary and middle schools, 3 pre-K sites, and 1 high school under the oversight of our superintendent. CEC members serve in an advisory role on education matters to the school district, to the district superintendent, the chancellor of the Department of Education, and to state and city elected officials. We approve district zoning, school zoning lines submitted by the Department of Education. We evaluate our district superintendent. We review district's educational programs, and we support school leadership teams. We also submit recommendations for the School Construction Authority's annual capital plan. And as of recent amendments to the law, CECs advise in the selection of parent coordinators. We actively seek input and feedback from the public and encourage you to visit our website, cecd15.org, and write to us about any issues you may want to address or learn about. Each school has a CEC liaison, and all of our names and contact info are available on our website.
All right, and parliamentarian?
So our public comment protocol. Tonight's calendar meeting is in person and will include a public comment period. We will take both remote and in-person comments to gather additional feedback from our families and school community members. You may leave your camera on, or for your own privacy, if you prefer, you may use audio only during the comment period and throughout the meeting. Rules of engagement. When you comment, please comment on the topic. Respect the privacy of others, and please do not include names of children or staff. Guests who make inappropriate comments will be removed from the meeting. During the public comment period, those attending virtually may raise their hand to comment or indicate in the chat that they would like to speak. Those called upon will be unmuted. If you are attending in person, you must sign the guest attendance sheet and indicate whether you would like to comment. Speakers will be called on one at a time and will be allowed 1 minute each for comment. We will hear as many speakers as the time allows. It is possible that not every comment and/or question will be given time, so the best way to get your question answered is always to write to the CEC at cec15@schools.nyc.gov. CEC members will also be given a comment period. Members will be called upon and are each permitted 1 2-minute comment and/or question. If members do not have a comment, they may cede their time to the chair.
Okay, thank you so much. So welcome, everybody. This is our final calendar meeting of the 2024-25 school year. We're here at PS 58, and we have our principal, Katie Delastrito. Would you mind sharing what's the good news? Yeah, you can have a seat.
Get a seat for a minute. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to PS 58 tonight. Thank you for being here. Really quick, I just wanted to comment briefly about PS 58 and then thank you all for your dedicated service. We've had a great year at PS 58. For those of you who may or may not know, we're a community school with about 765 students. We've had an incredible year filled with arts and music and are looking forward to moving that into next year. The curriculum rollout went very well. The teachers worked very hard and we're eager for next year to learn, to take what we've learned and move it forward, basically. So the teachers have been working very hard on planning days in May and June. I just want to take a moment, since we are in June, to recognize the PS58 community would not be the community it is without our parent engagement. That is the biggest important thing. And the engagement comes in all different forms, and everyone at this table understands that. So I want to take a moment to thank you all for your engagement, to thank you for your time, and for advocating for every single one of the students across District 15, because that is really what makes a difference, and we're very grateful for it. We've been grateful for your advocacy over the years, and we are the community we are because of engagement. And again, that means coming to meetings, which I know is hard for a lot of people, but whether you're virtual or whether you're here, asking questions and engaging with the staff, because the staff really cares about the kids. So thank you so much, Antonio. We're very grateful. It's been years that you've helped us along the way, and anyone else who's retiring, thank you so much for your service for not just the kids at PS58, but the kids all across District 15. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we have Rob Aguilera from Alexa Avila's office. Yeah, come on up and share the news. Yeah, I mean, it's just sort of,
Oh, okay. Good evening, Rob Aguilar, District Director with the Office of Councilmember Alexa Aviles. Just got really two quick announcements. One, the Mayor's Charter Review Commission is looking to fast forward the process of land use in the city. As of now, council members have the right and the obligation to question how land is used in our communities. The Mayor's Charter Review Commission wants to strip council members from that right. And it's at that part of the process where council members can advocate for their communities and say, and make requests from developers to add things that will benefit the community. So there is an important event taking place Thursday, June 26th at the Sunset Park Library over on 51st Street and 4th Avenue. It's an opportunity for folks to come out and give their testimony that they don't agree with this process. We think that the communities all across the city have the right to have a say in how available land is used in their districts. And for those of you who are here in person, this flyer is in the back of the table. You can scan to either send your testimony via email, or if you'd like to go in person and give your testimony. And second, I have a message from the council member to the members of the CEC. She would like to thank you all for this. I think we forget that the work that these members do here is done on a voluntary basis. You guys put in a lot of work, a lot of hours of your personal time, and you do it for free. So we thank you for that. And also the council member has some words for you, Antonia. So just cue that up. So Antonia, your dedication, leadership, and unwavering commitment to our community have truly been exceptional. You've steered the CEC with grace, wisdom, and a profound understanding for the needs and aspirations of our families. You've tackled complex issues, fostered productive dialogue, and consistently worked to make CEC 15 a more effective and responsive body. Your passion for our school community is evident in everything you do. We've all benefited from your insights, your hard work, and your willingness to go the extra mile.
thank you.
On behalf of Council Member Alexa Aviles. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the application.
And I need an office.
Thank you all.
Take a photo of you with Rob.
Sure.
Beautiful, beautiful. Go this way. Katina, are you trying to get out of the picture? Great.
My publicist down here. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's really sweet. All right, so let's get into it. This is my final president's report. I want to thank Superintendent Alvarez and Deputy Superintendent Lanzalato and all of the District 15 staff, all of the CEC 15 members, and of course, all of the District 15 families, including my own family, who tolerated all of these evening meetings. I want to share some of the accomplishments that we had this year. CEC 15 sent a really long list of 92 repairs and potential capital plan projects to the SDA, Division of School Facilities, as well as our city council members and the Brooklyn Borough President. We held a very successful legislative breakfast that was attended by dozens of elected officials, school staff, and parent leaders. We passed resolutions to demand equitable access to OmniCards, greater accountability from SCA. We demanded that New York City Public Schools deactivate from X and their Meta accounts. We formalized a statement and a resolution opposing the Trump administration's executive orders. We supported the Panel for Education Policies resolution affirming New York City Public Schools as a welcoming place for all students, especially our migrant students. We passed a resolution demanding improved access to PSAL sports. We successfully advocated for the return of 8.5 classrooms from Success Academy Cobble Hill to the other schools co-located in that building. So it has been a really busy year, and I have had the utmost pleasure of working with every single one of my members on this council. I have, oh boy. I have learned so much from, I think, every single council member dedicated him that I've met over the last 8 years. So I was first elected in 2017 in a very similar moment to today. So Trump had just been elected, and somehow that supercharged us. We got more done, I think, because he was elected, because parents were motivated and they were really committed to equity. So we reformed the middle school admissions policy. We rezoned subzone 3 in a way that both preserved the zoning lines and created a mechanism for equity at all of those schools. We were able to accomplish all this because we were guided by lengthy public engagement processes in which the facts were established, the community could clearly see the problem and the challenge, and everyone had an opportunity to shape the policy. That is the blueprint for lasting change. So I have high hopes for the district and the new council to continue District 15's legacy and initiate new lasting changes. I hope the district continues to tackle challenges through focused public engagement, approaches like forming participatory action research teams, tasked with producing recommendations that benefit all of our District 15 students. I hope the mindset persists that we don't have good or bad schools. All District 15 schools are great. And I hope that when the new council encounters these really polarizing issues, they remain focused on the students and the families. And ask yourself, how can I take the politics out and put in the people? So I will remain available to support all the new council members in whatever way they request. I'm just a phone call away. And I will continue supporting parent leaders at PTA Link and New York Appleseed. So I will be there continuing the work of school integration and supporting parent leadership. So now for my final book recommendations and updates. So happy LGBTQ+ Pride Month and happy Caribbean American Month And I wish a happy Juneteenth to everybody on Thursday. Our first book is Kapa Mahu by Hinale Moana, Juan Kalu, Dean Hammer, and Joe Wilson, which tells the story of the Mahu, which are individuals of a dual male-female spirit who sailed from Tahiti to Hawaii. And there are still to this day 4 boulders that are imbued with sacred healing powers on Waikiki. And this tells the story of that myth. The book was challenged in Virginia by a conservative community group that sought to remove the book on the basis of discussion of transgender topics. And then I have Ho'onani Hulu Warrior, which also explores the Mahu gender duality. And the book tells the true story of a young girl who felt in between what they call Kane, which is boy, and Wahine, which is girl. And she wanted to lead an all boys hula troop in her school. This book was challenged in St. Augustine, Florida, for this similar controversial topic of gender identity. And then I have for Caribbean American Month, American Street by Ibi Zavoy. It's a coming of age story about a Haitian immigrant. This was banned in Illinois and Pennsylvania. A young girl who is a U.S. citizen is traveling to the United States with her mother, who is not. Her mother is detained at the airport, and she never sees her mother again. This is a very good book for your high schooler. And then I have for Juneteenth, Sing a Song by Kelly Starling Lyons, which tells how the song Lift Every Voice and Sing inspired a generation and became a Black national anthem. So that book was also banned in Pennsylvania. Now for my updates, CEC elections, the results are all in. Congratulations to Katina Rogers, and Angelica Jadunandan, Jia Zhu, sorry, Elton Dodson, Cara Swirling Moel, Jonathan Davis, Kenneth Ebby, Kim Wanless, and Angelica Cesario. Our D75 seat still remains vacant. Nobody was elected to that seat. And we have a congratulations for our member Nancy Cruz, who was elected to CCA. All these members will take office on July 1st. They are required to attend an orientation and training sessions throughout the year. There is an in-person training scheduled for June 21st at 8 a.m. From 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Childcare is offered. So I hope you all can attend. There are also 2 virtual sessions. And all the information that I am spouting out at you is in the president's report that is linked in the chat. So you can get you can refer to it later. I have lots of links in this president's report. We are still working on our annual evaluation of the superintendent. I'm gonna put a deadline for the public to submit feedback of June 20th. So a survey went out to the public last month for the public to submit feedback. The deadline for that is June 20th, and we'll send it out again. And later on, the council will make a decision about when we're going to finalize our evaluation and submit it to the superintendent. I have some good news for students with disabilities. Chancellor Aviles Ramos and Deputy Chancellor Foti announced a really interesting student safety and independence training pilot. Oh, somebody's got their sound on. I hear some feedback. Okay. There are 5, expert-led travel sessions to empower and support children with disabilities. This sounds like a really interesting program for families and children to understand pedestrian safety and mapping travel routes and really building independence. So there's information about that in my report. In other good news, I got word that PS 29 is getting an elevator.
Wow.
That's like amazing. I don't know how that happened, but you know, congratulations, PS 29. Sunset Park families attended CB7's meeting on June 12th to speak in opposition to the new building for Brooklyn Rise Charter. It was well attended. There were about 25 families who spoke out in opposition to this new building. You can read more about that, and there is a link to the video of that meeting in my report. I've got some updates on the panel for education policy. Those results of the parent member elections are also announced. So congratulations to Faraji Hannah Jones, who will represent Brooklyn. It's a 1-year term, also beginning July 1st. There is a PEP meeting coming up on June 18th, so tomorrow, at Christopher Columbus High School in the Bronx. I have put links in my report. People can submit written testimony to the 24 PEP members as well. And in my continuing segment called Federal Government Watch, the President's fiscal year 2026 budget requests rather drastic education program cuts and consolidation. They are cutting overall funding from 6.5 billion to about 2 billion, and they're combining about 18 grants into one single block grant called K-12 Simplified Funding Program. And some of those 18 grants are full service for community schools, education for homeless children. They've zeroed out these programs and combined them into one block grant. And the problem with that is that communities don't have to then spend it on those specific programs. They can spend it on anything that they want. So the concern is that these different needs will not be met. So that request from the federal government now heads to Congress. And now for the impact of immigrant detentions on our school communities. In the last month, we have had 2 New York City public school students arrested by ICE. And today, mayoral candidate and District 15 parent Brad Lander was arrested by mass ICE agents while escorting a defendant out of immigration court at 26 Federal Plaza. So these arrests and raids and street abductions by ICE are not in service of protecting communities from criminal gangs. This is just fashion. This is about people trying to follow the rules to be here legally, complying with immigration laws, attending their hearings, being dismissed without explanation, and then being deported as they walk out of the court. Our federal government is acting in bad faith, to say the least. And the New York City parent community and our elected officials must not tolerate the detention of students, their parents, and our elected officials themselves. So I stand with Brad and those standing up for justice when it carries personal risk, as well as all the families living in daily fear. You'll be glad to know that Brad Lander was released this afternoon. I'm thinking in terms of calls to action. Maybe one is that there's a ban on masks For law enforcement, it would seem like law enforcement should have to identify themselves when they're arresting you. Another call to action might be that folks write to their legislators in support of Andrew Bernardus's bill, New York for All. I put a link to the bill in my report. This bill prohibits and regulates the discovery and disclosure of immigration status so that immigrants can live their lives without fear. And finally, the most consequential thing happening in education news is the New York City mayoral primary. The importance of this primary cannot be overstated because we have mayoral control. It is very likely that whoever wins this primary will become the mayor in November. So vote on June 24th. Early voting already began and will end on June 22nd. This is a ranked choice primary. Similar to the high school application process, you rank the candidates as you like them. So if you don't like a school for any reason, maybe your child doesn't want to travel there, or maybe you don't like the track record of the school, you don't rank it. So it's the same with mayoral candidates in a ranked choice primary. Only rank the mayors you can live with. And that concludes my updates. Thank you so much. All right, so I promised in the last meeting that I would put a public comment period right at the top of the meeting. So I'm going to ask my parliamentarian to manage that public comment period. It's an open public comment period.
So is there anybody joining us on Zoom who has a comment that they would like to share? Yes, Jeremy Kaplan.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, I'm a Sunset Park parent, and I attended I'm actually a community board member too, as well, and I attended the hearing that the CEC president spoke about in the report. And I just wanted to thank the president for her support with being there and speaking out. I think we're trying to find all avenues to sort of push for our perspective. Our community has fought for a while for public schools, and to have good quality public schools. And we've seen 6 new public schools come in the time in which Brooklyn Rise started in 2019. And so it's been really frustrating from the parents' perspective to sort of see this expansion of a large charter school right in the middle of a bunch of new public schools that are just beginning to get hold. And so we appreciate the CEC's support in speaking out against this. And we feel like it's a lot of parents from various different schools in the area, see it as detrimental because we've already in 516 have already seen under enrollment hurting our school. We actually lost science and STEAM classes because of under enrollment and underfunding. And so we can see like the negative detriment already of the possibility of what this charter could do with pulling more enrollment or pushing more under enrollment in some of our new schools that are just getting a hold. So yeah, that just want to voice that. And I appreciate that, the CEC has supported a lot of our parents and spoke out against it.
Great. Thank you so much. Johanna Bjorken.
Hi there, CEC. It's lovely to see you all. I'm also a Sunset Park resident, and now I'm a CCHS constituent. And so Nancy, congratulations on your election. But like others, I was also there last month to speak to Brooklyn Rise. And since then, I've discovered more about these charter leases in Sunset Park. Today, I came across this fascinating city council document that shows that basically the city is paying a per pupil amount, not the actual lease charges for most of the charters that it's subsidizing. And that amount is $5,700 per student. And that's just that's the lease charge. And for Brooklyn Rise, that means that when they're at their full capacity, now that they snuck this charter renewal in, that'll be more than $2.5 million going to their rent in this building that the SCA would never have built, that a private developer got to build because it's a great business model for him. And so your resolution could not be more timely. And I'm so glad to have your support and that you're in this with us, because they really did, like, this is an exercise in sneaking it under the radar before anybody knew what was going on, and a lot of misinformation about it as well. So the community's rallying, and thank you. And good luck to all of you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else on Zoom who has a comment that they would like to share? Is there anybody in the Mandarin interpretation room? Anybody on the Spanish line?
Nothing so far in the Spanish line.
Any comments on the Bangla line?
No comments on the Bangla line.
Are there any comments for people who are here in person?
We go for your comments.
Stand up.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'll be real short. My name is Kevin Glaze. I'm a local author, born and raised in New York City. I have a fictional series, book 1 and 2. It's about dogs against wolves. It's called Dogs of the Wild. I'm just introducing myself to the different districts. I go to the schools and I talk to the students about my books, but I can talk about my babies all day long. My baby, I plan to take it to an animated movie. But what I realized when going into the schools is that a lot of students don't realize that they can creatively write. So when I go and I talk to the students, a lot of them don't know that their favorite movies were actually books. So I created an introduction to creative writing course that I've been going around to the schools and introducing and showing them. I talk to the students about trademarks, copyrights, NDAs, so they not only know that once they create the work, they can protect it. New York City students are being left out of this shift, this creative writing shift, this content shift. They need new content, and there are a lot of studios opening up, and our students are being left behind. So aside from my books, I want to introduce the students to creative writing with the course and let them know that this movie industry and creative writing industry is an almost $300 billion industry. I am a DOE vendor, and I just wanted to introduce myself to you guys, and I have some flyers here if anybody's interested.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You can put them on the table up there if people want to take them, or hand them to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments? Thank you so much. I think that is it.
Okay, all right. Wonderful. All right, so do we have quorum?
We have quorum.
We have quorum. All right, so let's go on to this first resolution. Could I ask a council member to read the resolution? Resolution to repeal the use of public funds for private charter school facilities. Would anybody be in? Oh, okay, sure, thank you. Maybe I'll share my screen so that
I can do the next one.
okay, great. Okay, there you go.
Okay. CEC 15, resolution to repeal the use of public funds for private charter school facilities. The following resolution provides the position of the District 15 Community Education Council on the use of public funds for private charter school facilities. Whereas New York State Education Law, paragraph E of subdivision 3 of section 2853 and subdivision 6G of section 3602 requires New York City public schools to provide free space to charter schools in public buildings or reimburse the charter for space in private facilities. Whereas this law reflects 2014 amendments under the Bloomberg and Cuomo administrations that made NYC the only district in the entire state and the entire nation that is obligated to help subsidize the rent for charter schools if they are not provided space in public school in public school buildings. Whereas according to the law, a state is obligated to pay 60% of charter lease subsidy costs after total expenses to the city exceed $40 million, which occurred in fiscal year 2017. Whereas NYC has 281 charter schools, the vast majority of the 351 total authorized charter schools in New York State. Whereas the total funding diverted to charter schools from traditional public schools in New York City is already substantial and growing each year. It is currently approximately $3 billion, not counting the rental space and services that co-located NYC charter schools receive for free but paid for by New York City Department of Education. Whereas in fiscal year 2023, NYC charter schools cited in private space received subsidies from the New York City Department of Education and New York State to help pay for their rental costs, totaling an estimated $166 million. Whereas on March 18th, 2024, Deputy Chancellor Dan Weisberg testified at a City Council education budget hearing that fiscal year 2024 charter school per pupil spending totaled $3.2 billion and charter school rental leases totaled $235 million. The City Council's report on the fiscal year 25 preliminary plan confirms that the NYC DOE held 132 leases and was scheduled to make $235.6 million in payments in fiscal year 2024. Whereas Hochul's fiscal year 2025 budget confirmed Deputy Chancellor's testimony that NYC charter schools cited in private space cost the city and state at least $200 million combined, as the state's portion was estimated at $120 million. Whereas this year, Hochul's fiscal year 2026 budget increases the state's estimated portion to $145 million. As this represents 60% of the estimated total rental costs, we can deduce that private space will cost the city and state at least $241.6 million combined, with the city's portion rising to $96.6 million from $80 million the prior year. Whereas two class size matters reports on the cost of charter rent in 2019 and 2020 show that in fiscal year 2019, DOE overspent on charter lease costs by over $21 million compared to their legal obligation. And in fiscal year 2020, DOE spent over $11.6 million on rent for charter schools whose buildings were owned by their charter management organizations or other affiliated organizations. And that in some of those cases, the CMO had appeared to sharply increase their own rent, apparently to receive more reimbursement from the DOE. Whereas a class size matters report on charter facilities funding provides evidence of overspending on rent for private facilities for charter schools and extreme inflation of rental costs. In one instance, the increase was 13 times the base rent. Whereas NYCPS recently filed a lawsuit against the NYC ED and Hellenic Classical charter schools, claiming the charter artificially inflated rental costs to obtain a greater rental reimbursement. Whereas in March 2025, a judge determined that NYC was not obligated to reimburse Hellenic Classical charter schools for inflated rental costs charged by the school's charter management company in order to acquire funds for projects that are not actual rent costs. And whereas ending the mandate to provide free space for charter schools could free up both city and state funding to help NYCPS meet class size mandates or save essential programs that have been relying on federal funds. Whereas State Senator John Liu, Chair of the NYC Education Senate Committee, Senator Robert Jackson, and Councilmember Rita Joseph, Chair of the NYC Council Education Committee, urged Comptroller Lander to audit both the potential overcharging of charter rent charged to DOE, as well as the underpayment of matching funds to co-located public schools for facilities enhancements in a letter sent in March 2023, but that audit has still not been launched. Therefore, be it resolved that the NYS legislature repeal the law that obligates New York City Department of Education to provide space to charter schools in public schools or help pay for their rent as the only district in the nation with this onerous requirement. Be it resolved that the District 15 Community Education Council will ask the NYC Comptroller to audit the DOE spending on rental subsidies for charter schools, especially those whose buildings are owned by their CMO or other affiliated organization, to ensure they are not inflating reimbursement from DOE. Be it resolved that the District 15 Community Education Council also asks the NYC Comptroller to audit the spending of DOE on matching funds to public schools co-located with charters for facilities enhancements, an amount that is supposed to match the spending of the co-located charters for that purpose, and yet the CSM reports 2019 and 2020 found that the co-located public schools were owed millions of dollars by the DOE. Be it resolved that the District 15 Community Education Council opposes S5797/A85, which provides retroactive facilities funds for 70 charters that opened prior to 2014 in NYC. Be it resolved that the District 15 Community Education Council demands retroactive reimbursement for all facilities expenses paid to 204 charters by NYC since 2014. Be it resolved that the following bills to strengthen the accountability and transparency of charter schools shall be approved by the legislature and signed into law by the governor, along with the same bills in the Assembly. S423, Blue, which repeals the requirement that NYC must help pay for private space rented by charter schools. S552, Blue, which allows the state comptroller to audit NYC charter schools. And S527, Meyer, which limits revisions to charter schools that would expand the grades served to only those grade levels included in the type of school. And be it resolved that the city and legislature use the newly available tax levy funding to meet class size mandates and sustain programs previously funded by federal funds. There's a line at the end that says, the rent is too darn high. Charters are fleecing city and state budgets by charging excessive rents on private facilities. NYC students deserve no less than the rest of the state and nation.
So are there any comments or questions from people on Zoom about this resolution? Yes, Johanna?
I kind of spoke about the Sunset Park situation already in the public comment, but I just wanted to say, like, while I was digging around, because that's what I do, I discovered that the developer in Sunset Park, his whole business model is based around the fact that he's going to be able to charge the city 30 per, the per pupil amount, and he calls for investors to come out of this, and it's completely outside any district planning, any idea of like what the community actually needs. He said basically he targets areas where real estate is cheaper, which also happens to be where they're historically disadvantaged, saying like this is a real estate deal. It has nothing to do with education. It has nothing to do with the community's need for a school. And it really highlights so many of the reasons that like the charters getting a free ride without any scrutiny is just such a problem. So I really, really hope that you will vote resoundingly for this.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from people joining us on Zoom? there anybody on the Bangla line with a comment or question?
I don't see any.
Anybody on the Spanish line?
No, there are no questions in Spanish line.
Anybody on the Mandarin line?
No questions on the Mandarin.
Any comments or questions from people in person about this resolution? Yes.
Hi, I'm SJ Later. I'm a school parent from Sunset Park. We've already heard a ton about our neighborhood, so I just want to say that, yes, the parents in the neighborhood are honestly terrified of losing our true public schools to the rise, but also the other charter schools. There's in Sunset Park, there's I can't remember what it's called, there's a huge charter group that has a location at Sunset Yard. And so I just want to be another voice urging to say yes, adopt this resolution and to thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from people in person about this resolution? We'll move to CEC comments or questions. Donaldo?
I have no questions.
Nancy?
No questions, except that every time I see Success Academy commercial, I'm like, that's what the text. And it's really.
Katina?
No, just a comment that there's one of the Hellenic classical charter schools like right across from where I didn't know about this until seeing the resolution, and it's.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Oh, I'm
Katina?
sorry. Yeah, it's just unconscionable. So anyway, glad that we're voting on it.
Vanessa?
Yeah, same.
Antonia?
No comment.
Leslie? Same for me. I think it's a necessary resolution that everybody should consider voting for.
So I want to move to vote.
Second.
Okay. Stop sharing my screen. Nancy, can you call the roll and log the vote? Absolutely. I made the motion to vote. And Jonathan, second.
Yep.
Councilmember Antonio Ferrara, I vote yes. Councilmember Leslie King.
Yes.
Councilmember Vanessa Gonzalez Roca.
Yes.
Councilmember Nancy Cruz, down. Councilmember Katina.
Yes.
Councilmember Jonathan Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Donalda Chumney.
Yes.
With that, we have 7 and 1. Thank you. Let's move on to the resolution on transitional aid. Jonathan, you said you would be interested in reading it.
Yes.
I'm gonna share the screen.
Okay. This is the CEC 15 resolution on state transitional aid for New York City Public Schools. The following resolution provides the position of the District 15 Community Education Council on transitional aid. Whereas New York City has 281 charter schools, the vast majority of the 351 total authorized charter schools in New York State. Whereas the total funding diverted to charter schools from traditional New York City public schools is already substantial and growing each year. According to the New York City Council's November 2024 enrollment, charters are projected to receive approximately $3.054 billion for fiscal year 2025. This is up from $2.69 billion in fiscal year 2023 and does not include the rental space and services that co-located New York City charter schools receive for free, but paid for by the New York City Department of Education. Whereas New York State Education Law, Subdivision 41 of Section 3602 requires public school districts to pay tuition to charter schools for each student enrolled. Whereas transitional aid is state funding that offsets the cost of year-to-year increases in charter school enrollment available to school districts that have a high concentration of charters. That concentration is defined as 2%. Whereas New York City has far more than 2% of students in charters, New York City more than qualifies with 15% of students currently attending charters. Whereas some districts, like District 17, have 25.8% of students attending charter schools, whereas New York City was deliberately excluded from receiving transitional aid. It was part of a deal Mayor Michael Bloomberg made with the New York State Legislature under Governor Cuomo to expand charters in New York City, and our students have been paying the price ever since. Whereas New York City is the only school district in the state excluded from this aid. Whereas the Education Law Center estimates New York City to have been denied over $2.6 billion in state transitional aid in a period of 10 years between 2011 and 2022. Whereas according to the Education Law Center, the city missed out on $263 million in transitional aid in 2021 to 2022. Whereas New York City Comptroller Brad Lander sent a letter in March 2022 to the legislature requesting that supplemental tuition, the state funding for charter school tuition, for $263 million be made available in fiscal year 23 until the law, State Education Law 360241, can be rewritten to include New York City in transitional aid, whereas districts pay charters per pupil tuition. Hochul's fiscal year 24 budget includes a 4.7% charter tuition increase. Per pupil tuition for charters as of 2023-2024 was $18,340, whereas under current law, charter schools in New York State can become K-12 schools regardless of the grades initially approved. When charters expand to new grade levels, i.e. elementary, middle, or high school, this adds additional tuition costs at the expense of districts that are excluded from transitional aid. Whereas charter school advocates frequently point to high spending on district students, but the reality is in the absence of transitional aid, New York students simply aren't getting the full benefit of per pupil tuition because the charter industry is soaking up more and more of it. Whereas nowhere is this more true than districts with both high concentrations of poverty and high percentages of students who attend charters, such as Rochester, Albany, Buffalo, and New York City. Whereas these districts now face uncertainty with the Trump administration's threat to cut federal aid to public schools, including potentially billions of dollars in Title I, IDEA, and school lunch subsidies. Whereas federal funds, which include Title I funds, represent 5% of $2 billion of the New York City Department of Education budget. Therefore, be it resolved that the CEC 15 calls on the New York State Legislature to make New York City eligible for state charter school transitional aid by passing S4449, sponsored by New York Senator Robert Jackson from District 31. Be it resolved that the CEC 15 calls on the New York State Legislature to provide New York City all past transitional aid that was unfairly denied, $2.6 billion as of 2022. And be it resolved that the CEC 15 urges Mayor Adams and Chancellor Ramos to formally request ongoing transitional aid from the state legislature. New York City families demand transitional aid. This is money left on the table that every other school district is receiving. New York City students deserve no less than the rest of the state. So with that, any comments or questions from people joining us on Zoom? Is there anything on any comments or questions on the Spanish line?
No question, no comments in the Spanish line.
Any comments or questions on the Mandarin line?
No questions for Mandarin line.
Any comments or questions on the Bangla line?
There are no questions or comments.
Any questions or comments from people here in person? I think we will move to CEC comments or questions. Donalda?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Yep. Nancy?
No, thank you.
Katina?
No.
Vanessa?
And just full support for this is an equity issue and saying that we, as one of the highest concentrated districts with the most poverty, are not receiving what is given to every other district. So I appreciate this resolution.
Thank you. Antonia?
No comment.
Leslie? I move to vote.
Yeah, second. I'll take the roll. Councilmember Antonia Ferrara? Yes. Councilmember Leslie King?
Yes.
Councilmember Vanessa Gonzalez Roca?
Yes.
Councilmember Nancy Cruz? Yes. Councilmember Katina Rogers?
Yes.
Councilmember Jonathan Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember Donalda Chumley? Yes. With that, the resolution passes. All right. Wonderful. I'm going to now share this is a resolution we received from the Education Council Consortium for hybrid public comments at the PEP meetings. During the pandemic, they used to allow for hybrid comments. They stopped doing that, and this resolution asks the PEP to reinstate hybrid comment or virtual comment. I'm going to share my screen, and would someone like to read this? I can read it. Okay. Resolution for hybrid public comments at the Panel for Education Policy meetings. Whereas the Panel for Education Policy, PEP, or the City Board of Education is a 24-member voting body overseeing New York City public schools and is comprised of community leaders across every neighborhood and borough of New York City. The PEP meets once a month to vote on matters pertaining to public education. Whereas the PEP is a state-mandated public body that is bound by open meetings law, which gives the public the right to attend meetings of public bodies, listen to debate, and watch the decision-making process. Whereas per the U.S. Department of Education, boards of education are not required to take public comment, but it is appropriate and the board should be diligent in assuring public comment takes place at appropriate times during board meetings. Whereas the PEP bylaws, Article 9 meetings, provide for open comment limited to only in-person attendees. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, PEP meetings were live streamed but held in person in all 5 boroughs, with public comments limited to in-person attendees only. Whereas during the pandemic, remote meetings were instituted and public comments at PEP meetings were taken through an online platform using language interpretation and closed captioning. Consequently, public engagement increased due to better and easier access. Whereas the PEP's capabilities to host hybrid meetings is superior compared to those of other volunteer education bodies like community education councils and school leadership teams, due in part to a larger budget and IT support. Whereas in June of 2023, the PEP abandoned remote meetings and returned to in-person only meetings, no longer allowing hybrid public comments and leading to a decline in attendance, prompting communities to ask for a return to hybrid public comments. Whereas evening meetings pose a challenge for many parents, guardians wanting to attend in person, and the inability of people to participate due to hardships such as travel, childcare, disability, and the city's spread out nature, including travel between boroughs, further limits involvement. Whereas hosting hybrid meetings aligns with the core principles of open meetings law and embodies true public accessibility and civic engagement. Therefore, be it resolved that the panel for education policy resume hybrid meetings to allow for both in-person and virtual public comments to be received, and be it resolved that PEP members be seen and heard by the public in both in-person and virtual spaces using language interpretation and ASL upon request.
Okay, are there any comments or questions about this resolution from those joining us via Zoom?
Johanna has one.
Yes, Johanna?
I'm such a chatty Kathy, and I apologize, but I am one of those masochists for some reason. I love going to these meetings, and please pass this. I do like to go to the PEP. I think it's so important. And one of the things that's not in here is that the only way you can speak, even if you go in person, is if you're there by 6:15. You have to sign up to speak by 6:15 or you can't speak. And that the pressure, especially, given how big this city is and how the public transportation, and that we are all parents with children, and public comment is at the end of the meeting when it's already very late. Like, really, please pass this resolution. It's time to join the 21st century with this.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from people joining us on Zoom? Is there anybody on the Mandarin line with a comment or question?
No comments.
Okay, anybody on the Bangla line?
There are no questions or comments.
Any comments or questions on the Spanish line?
No question, no comments, the Spanish line.
Any comments or questions from people here in person? Okay. Let's move to CEC, comments or questions. Donalda?
I think the system should open up lots of things to your people all the time. It's not. So most generally in any circumstance. So yes, I wholeheartedly support this. Thank you.
Yeah, Nancy?
No comments, Nancy.
Katina?
Same.
Vanessa?
No comments, thank you.
Antonia?
No comment.
Lessa?
Yes, I also think that it's an equity issue, so I think it's an important, I think we should have it.
Agreed.
All right, I make a motion to move to vote.
I'll second.
And with that, we'll call the roll. Councilmember Antonio Paul? Yes. Councilmember Vanessa King?
Yes.
Councilmember Vanessa Gonzalez? Yes. Councilmember Nancy Cruz? Yes, sorry. That's me. Thanks. Member Katina Rogers? Yes. Council members Donaldo Chuck. And with that, the resolution passes. All right, thank you so much. Fantastic. Thank you. Pass 3 resolutions. Wonderful. Okay, so, I want to open the floor with our parliamentarian for public feedback, on our superintendent. I am obligated to create a forum for feedback, on our superintendent, and so,
This is the meeting.
this is the time to do it, if you are a member of the public who wants
Okay.
to.
Let's start in person this time, because I've been going for Zoom first. Is there anybody in person that has a comment or feedback about the superintendent? Silence.
Everybody's still afraid.
Yeah. Hey, don't be afraid. Let's move to Zoom. Anybody with a comment or feedback on or about the superintendent?
I'm also gonna put in the chat the survey form that, public can use to provide, their comments up until Friday, 20th. That form will be available to you.
Check with the interpretation lines. Is there anybody on the Spanish line with any feedback or comments?
No comments in Spanish now.
How about the Bangla line?
No comments or feedback.
The Mandarin line?
No comments from the Mandarin line.
That's it?
That's it?
Okay, so I just wanna ask the council, to agree on a date. I wanna put out there Friday the 20th, as the last day to submit your comments in the evaluation form. I'd like to be able to meet with our superintendent the following week to provide him with all of your feedback. Thoughts? So much happening this week. We'll have the meeting. We did Monday. Monday, okay.
Sunday night?
Sunday night. How about Sunday night? Okay. Okay, Sunday
You
night.
seemed like you wanted it by Monday.
I did want it by
Yeah.
Monday. Okay, Sunday night at what time?
9:37.
11:59. 11:59.
Or it's supposed to be 11:51.
I'm on a plane
Oh,
on
that's
the
right.
26th.
That's right.
I'm leaving the country.
We hope you come back.
I will.
Boy, come back our last CEC meeting, huh? Yeah. Kept on.
So your meeting is on Monday?
It's on Monday.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, okay, fine.
There you go. Okay, I don't know that we necessarily need to vote on this date, but I will be having a meeting with our superintendent on Monday. So please get your, comments in by Sunday night at 11:59.
By Friday,
What?
by Friday. I agreed to Friday, I'm sorry.
I thought we agreed to Sunday.
Yes, but then you said your meeting is on Monday, and I wanna give you time to review whatever you need.
It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. I just need to be able to give him the link. So I don't have it. Yeah.
Eastern Standard Time now.
I should say with Friday, the next thing. No, I can work on Sunday. Okay. I can work on Sunday. Sunday night, okay. Everybody agrees, all right. And now for our superintendent's report.
I'm gonna run to
Can we maybe move down?
Down?
Yeah.
Sit there.
Maybe short today, so.
Yeah.
It will come up on you.
Oh, yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I promise tonight will be shorter than normal. It's a good thing or a bad thing, but either way, it's shorter than normal. So our next slide. Just celebrating, as you heard earlier, Juneteenth, it's Flag Day this month, Father's Day, which is this past Sunday, Eid, which passed last week, and then Pride Month, to celebrate that. And so just honoring those, celebrations that we have across, our city. Next slide. We're just gonna talk a little bit about some recent celebrations. There are several to come. We will be sharing those at a later time, but we wanted to show at least a few of them. And a little bit of a 24-25 year in review. Not a full context because we don't have all the data back yet from the screeners, but they are showing some promises, and I could talk a little bit about that going forward. So the next slide, just a field day. I want to thank CEC for your partnership. Antonia, I definitely saw you there as I was trying to manage 5 meetings at the same time. But our students had an amazing time on that Friday, which is a clerical day for teachers, and teachers were working remotely. I wanted to shout out some of our teachers who actually participated and supported our students during a district-wide field day where they got to compete. School Foods was there, so they provided snacks. And beverages, and then the entire team who supported this particular work, and CEC who also supported us.
Jonathan was there.
Yeah.
It said till 2 and I got there at 1 and everything closed up.
Yeah, there was
and I
something
just
closed at
missed,
1.
yeah.
They're
But my
perfect.
son and I still had a fun time.
Good, great, awesome. Bike ride, okay.
No, it was like a
Wagon.
wagon,
Oh,
but
A wagon.
50+ miles. It was worth it though.
PS 321, sharing some of their independent math projects, which is part of their project-based learning, where students got an opportunity to select mathematical concepts within whatever grade level they were in, and presenting how that math leads into real world situations and societal needs, so to speak. So it was a full school endeavor. So we just showed a few of the things that they were doing there. And then on the next slide, you have PS 107, who has been celebrating Pride. They were part of Brooklyn Pride's parade, I believe, last Friday. And the 107 member in the back celebrating that. And we have several schools who are doing all these events. And we just posted a few, and usually every month we post a few just to give an idea of what's happening across the district. Next slide. Just a quick year in review. Our attendance right now, compared to last year, we're approximately about 0.5% higher than we were. 93.2 is a huge endeavor. As I shared last month, we only had 3 schools that were below the 90%, so that's a really good accomplishment in our district. We moved our chronic absenteeism from 51% to 37%, so we dropped a lot in that percentage. That primarily had to do with some of the data I shared last month around the attendance teachers as well as other coordinators doing business in the evening as well as on the weekends, which we have seen significant gains. We dropped our chronic absenteeism by over 3% across the district, even further. This is now consecutive 3 years in a row. This just has to do with a lot of the work that Neil Singh coordinates with the attendance teachers, as well as our district points and our schools who have been targeting specific students to address the gaps that they're facing. So we're seeing those numbers come down, and we're kind of proud of that.
What's STH?
As students in temporary housing.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Absolutely. Next slide. Just some information in terms of compliance. District 15 is obviously leading. It says Brooklyn, but Brooklyn North. So Brooklyn North encompasses districts 13, 14, 15, 16, 23, 32, and 19. I forgot that. And so, and it also includes the Brooklyn North High Schools. So, the burgundy-ish color to the right is the numbers where we stand towards the end of the year, which is at 99.7 for home language, parent choice at 99.7, sight students who have formal interruption in education
88.5%. The S Lab, which is the Spanish lab test, which are students who are going for a bilingual program in Spanish. The NICETEL, which is the assessment to determine who needs health services at 99.9%. 98.3 is our programming, and then our former L programming is at 99.6. We've led in every single category across all those districts that I discussed across Brooklyn North. And so
Sorry, Superintendent, what did you say those percentages represent?
these represent the compliance as it relates to the corrective action plan that New York City was required to do with the state as it relates to the English language learners in our district, well, in our city, as a District 1 city. And so the corrective action plan required us to do some things to ensure that we're in compliance and ensuring that students are receiving the services that they need at health. So we're just highlighting that we pretty much hit the 99 mark across pretty much the board. And it's never going to be 100 because you're always going to have that one student who still falls within a window of an assessment. But these are really strong numbers for us as a city, as a district across the city.
And how do you differentiate between English language learners and multilingual learners?
So the English language learners are the students who are English learning language, and the multilingual learners are students that may have more than one language, and English might be their first primary, but secondary. So for example, in a school like this, we have the French school language program. There might be some students who have both languages. So English should be their primary and secondary could be the other language, vice versa, where for the L's, they're coming in as English language learners, and that's their second language that they're learning for the first time or so. Yeah. So next slide. So I'm not going to play the video for you, but New York City Solves, I wanted to thank. We had 100% participation from all 12 of our schools in D15. Those are the middle schools, including the high school, as well as the 6 to 12 secondary school. 20 full days of IM workshop support. It focused on grades 6 through 8, not only just math in grades 6 through 8, but also algebra 1. I wanted to give a special thanks to 51, 136, 428, 447, 821, 497, and 656 for literally having pretty much all of the entire math department, as well as their special ed teachers, a part of the series. We know that when they get this provided support and they provide feedback to us, we're able to support them in how to move this work and think outside of the box of the 4 walls of the curriculum, so to speak, right? So I want to thank that. Next slide. And you can just forward that. Yeah, they can watch the video on. So it's okay. So math implementation walks. These were the walks where our team had to review. There were 2 rounds of learning walks, one in the beginning of the year, one towards the fall. We visited 53 classrooms in the fall and 63 classrooms in the spring, and these are all math classrooms. And what that does, for the purposes of that, not only did we conduct the walkthroughs, we also hosted intervisitations with those school leaders and the teachers so they could see those practices across schools and seeing how to learn from the best practices of how people step outside of the 4 walls of the curriculum and engage in the mathematics through the IM process, which is really thinking about, not IM process, but the IM curricula, with the process of conceptual understanding of mathematics. And so that's something that we worked on. And so the next slide. This goes into the reading. So we visited 643 classrooms this particular year. In the beginning of the year, 299 and 344 in the spring. In the spring, we added pre-K and pre-K visits, which were not part of the implementation tool. And in pre-K through 2, we really focused on foundational skills curriculum. What was amazing about this is that from the second visit around the foundational skills, which we shared last month, our direction to move forward as a district around foundational skills and focusing heavily on that, what we found was that schools were implementing some of the foundational skills, but not necessarily doing the full implementation of the foundational skills. Some of that had to do with programming, some of that had to do with what teachers chose to cover because they were dealing with the new curriculum that was taking more time. With that, we were able to give feedback to every single teacher. So 344 teachers, but a large number of teachers, particularly the 3K, pre-K, K1 and 2 teachers, all received feedback, immediate feedback on what was going so well, and then some next steps for them immediately. And then we provided professional development for not only those teachers, but also the literacy leads to start leading the beginning foundations of the work that we're going to do for next year. So everyone's in preparation for what that's going to look like. I haven't mandated a foundational skills curriculum. We have left that for the schools to decide. We have, though, 2 tracks, which is for the most part PAF or foundations, which are all phonics-based programs. And then all of our schools pretty much are doing integrity. So we know that's for the phonemic awareness work that's going on. There are some schools that are doing some nuances of some other things and sampling things. We're in the process of thinking about what is that going to look like for next year. Next slide. So a year of learning, leading, and impact, the professional learning. So 100% participation with Teaching Matters, which are the job embedded supports for Into Reading and Wit and Wisdom. So our schools participated 100%. Pretty much all teachers have received some form of training and support around the curricular rollout from Teaching Matters, who's our thought partner. We had a special grant that I shared with you before, which is the GEOs. Those were texts that were being used. They were considered decodables, but it was the strengthening of our students' ability to read and read fluently and master that. 65% of our schools participated in that. Essentially, it was our first grade classes that we did. We've seen such a significant gain so far in the cadence. I haven't shared that yet because we're still finalizing assessments in terms of the final numbers, but we have already seen gains in K1 and 2 consistently across our district compared to other districts across the city. In fact, we were asked to present about why that was the case, and it was because of our focus around the implementation tool, and rather than just using it as a checklist, we use it to support what we were seeing in foundational skills, where other school districts were using it to look at just the curricula. We were looking at the foundational skills curricula for K-2, and then looking at it for the curricula for grades 3 through 5, which would be the Wit and Wisdom and Intermediate curricula, right? The Wit and Wisdom, the GEOs is part of a work that we've been doing with NYU, with Susan Newman, who is now working with the grant providers to see if we could extend that to second grade, so that we can have a continuation of what happened in first grade into second grade, to see what impact that's going to have with kids who are struggling to read. And then our middle school core ELA coaching, 72% of our schools participated, 72% of our middle schools participated in partnering with Teaching Matters to focus on core ELA curriculum. So while they were doing their thing in terms of middle school and ELA, we want to make sure that we continue to provide support around the particular ELA work. Like I said, together, if we lay a foundation for rigor, high quality literacy instruction across the district, we're going to see gains, and we've started to see that already with the cadence data in K-2. Next slide. Teaching Matters, small group instruction. That's something else that we've been focusing heavily on. So, foundational literacy matters. We had small group instruction in K and 1. I'm not going to read to you the objectives, but we focused on what tier 1 instruction would look like to provide support. We started with 29 kindergarten students, 30 first grade students, 3 schools that were a part of this, 6 kindergarten teachers, including 3 ICT, 2 dual language classes, 7 first grade class teachers, including 2 ICT and 2 dual language classes. This was all around how do we provide quality small group instruction in tier 1 instruction, so that kids were getting support and not having to be pulled out. And we specifically focus on K and 1, as I shared with you, because we wanted to start to lay the foundation of what foundational literacy skills are and how do we get students to be able to read, right? Next slide. So we also built a literacy learning community for our middle schools. So we had 6 middle schools who opted in to participate. We looked at 10 classrooms plus with Wit and Wisdom HMH, 5th grade ELA intervention classes, and we received 100% positive feedback around the supports that the teachers were getting in terms of providing support and implementing literacy that's aligned to the science of reading across the particular grades. Note that we talked about how we've also integrated our project-based learning into these, so that students weren't just learning from material that was being provided, but also expanding their knowledge with real-world experiences and literacy as well. Next slide. This year, we've also focused on foundational literacy content knowledge, as I shared with you, or in Gillingham approach. In here, we had 8 district team members trained, 18 schools that were impacted by this particular work, 17 school administrators already trained, that includes principals and assistant principals, school-based coaches trained, those are the literacy leads or coaches at schools, and 32 teachers trained. That's just the start. What we did was we did this work for about 5 to 6 days, where they had one series, which is pretty much level 1, and then the level 2 was a continuation of this work that really talked about morphology. So the level 1 was really about how do you support K through 5 instruction, and then the level 2 is how do you support students who are still struggling to read in 6 through 9. And so, teachers, assistant principals, coaches, and assistant principals and principals all participated in Orton Gillingham training through Edward Orton Gillingham. But schools, in partnership with our principals advisory, are determining whether they're going to do Edward Orton Gillingham or IMSE, which is really just training them on foundational skills and explicit instruction, so that they know how to provide support to teachers and provide real targeted feedback, so that it gives teachers next steps to actually implement, as opposed to giving vague or ambiguous responses that leads teachers to still struggle with what and how to move next. Next slide. So if you look at the small group instruction walkthrough, the baby blue color is what we were able to report in the beginning. And then as a result of the work that we've been doing across the district in reading, writing, and small group partnerships, you're seeing those increased numbers. So in the beginning, students work on skills in groups and partners. We found that 52% was happening. We then saw after the remainder of the year, 69%. So we've been seeing some gradual increases. As you can see, our largest percentages have always been small group partnerships, because we've been doing a lot of small group work in District 15, and we'll continue to do that small group work. Next slide. These are just some images of some things where you're seeing leaders, teachers, staff members across the district just engaging in conversations and learning and professional learning to ensure that all our kids get what they actually need. And our next slide. These are just the district-wide initiatives. This is another way to provide inclusivity and diversity across our district, with all the initiatives from the Day of Service to our Urban Debate League, our Art Showcase, our Project-Based Learning show, our recognition ceremony, our STEM Exploration Saturday, the Lion King performance that includes students from grades 3 to 12 across every single school in our district. So just some of the district-wide initiatives that we have done to bring our district schools collectively together. This included some of the schools that are not within my superintendency, but are within District 15. So you'll see that some of our other schools in our middle school and high schools have participated, but we also had our 418, which is also co-located with D75, our Broken Children's School, who have also participated in our events. We've also included some of those leaders to participate if they chose to in principal and AP conferences, and offer them opportunities to participate in some of the grants or scholarships that we have actually lent ourselves to. Next slide. And also the family workshops that we have done across the district. These family workshops came from the parents who gave us feedback on what they wanted to see. We've already surveyed parents this year already for next year. We will continue to survey them throughout the year to see if they want to participate, or which professional learnings they want to participate. Next year, we're going to move from 4 town halls to 3 to be more strategic around what the community wants at the time, and really surveying them around the time, because I think that there are nuances that happen now but might change later on, and they may want that as their primary focus. So we're going to continue to do that. What we were proud of this year is that we were able to give professional support to parents and family workshops that were in the native language. So we did have a Chinese course that parents were able to participate in, and we had a Spanish course that parents were also able to participate in, so that the PD was done in their native language as opposed to English and then being translated. So we listened to the community about how they wanted some of that more, and we're more open to having more of these if we need to for next year. It's just giving some basic overview. So if you go to the next slide. So our youth equity, so the current initiatives, we were student-centered meetings where there was voice, choice, and agency. We had student leadership where students were as change agents. And then we had turnkeying of learning on DEI, PD school-wide. Going forward, we're going to think about kindness campaigns and promoting respect, addressing bullying, and using our youth equity to do that work. Celebrating the student work and showcasing creativity and achievements across schools in the different ways that are being presented. And then student-led DEI and develop and lead inclusive communities, so that they're kind of leading that work at their school communities, as opposed to just being told, them telling us what needs to happen in terms of the changes for each of our school communities. So that's what the youth equity is going to be working on next year. And then in terms of the adult equity, if you go to the next slide, it was big on the liaisons developing action plans to implement CRSE, or culturally responsible and sustaining education practices, and shared steps with the key stakeholders. But next year, we're going to try to focus, the focus will be on fidelity of implementation and assessment of the action plan. So here's the action plan, how well are people implementing these action plans in their schools? And then intervisitations are gonna occur to share and learn about the CRSD practices throughout the district. So rather than them just being isolated to their school or hearing it from one another in these virtual meetings, we're gonna visit each other's schools so we can see how those practices live in those particular schools and learn from one another, where we'll help them grow as a school, but also take away some things to share in our own school and moving that work forward. So those are some of the evolvements we're trying to do going forward. In terms of the next slide. I think I want to thank District 15 Community Education Council, this particular council here, not only for your dedication and tireless work, but for everything that you do behind the scenes that many people may or may not know that you do. I don't know if people are aware, maybe you are, maybe you aren't, but this CEC meets twice a month. They go for the extended time, so it's literally 3 to 4 hours each time, in addition to the countless hours of work that Antonia, Jonathan, Katina, Vanessa, Leslie, Nancy, Donalda, and even Nancy Randall, and Kwame, who's here as well, who's not here today, but is also part of this, that are consistently always behind the scenes, helping me help our district get better, giving me the hard questions, pushing my thinking, pushing our thoughts, giving me constructive feedback. It's helping me become a better superintendent for the district and making sure that we're hearing voices across the district. Not always the loudest, but always all the voices, so that all the voices are part of the decision-making that happens. And I just can't thank you enough for this particular partnership. I do look forward, and congratulations to Katina and Jonathan, who will continue with the CEC 15. So I want to thank you for that. And a special shout out to our president, Antonia. I always say Burrow, but she has also Martinelli. So I say both. And I presented some flowers here to her. You can't see them in the background, but that's nowhere near to the extent of what she deserves as a leader in this district, where she spends countless hours behind the scenes, going to pet meetings and going across the city. And anytime we invite her as a voice of the community, she's always welcome to share and not afraid to share her thoughts and opinions. So I do want to thank her commitment to that, the district leadership team and everything else that you do and all that you all do as well as CEC members. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I think you and I.
So are there any comments or questions for the superintendent from those of you joining us on Zoom? Any comments or questions on the Mandarin line?
No questions or comments in Mandarin line.
Any comments or questions on the Bangla line?
No question or comment on the Bangla line?
Any comments or questions on the Spanish line?
No questions, no comments in Spanish line.
Are there any comments or questions from people joining us in person? Yeah, Kim?
Good evening, how are you? Good. Kim Morales, I did have a question regarding, who did I commend you on all your fabulous work.
Yeah.
About who did the feedback at numbers like 300, visits in the school.
366 visits, yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, the 366 visits were people on my team. That would be Karina Otterfred, Stephanie Parsons, Lindsay Bernstein, Phyllis Jackson, I'm gonna forget somebody now, Valerie Mahasi, the two interventionalists, Tina Perkis, Yvonne, Yvonne Jackson. So all of those people are part of my team, whether they work independently at some schools or not. They're the ones who had to conduct those visits between a certain time frame. They had about 2.5 months, but we strategically planned how those visits were going to be. And the school selected, so the requirement of the implementation tool, that's a good question. It required 2 classes per grade at every single school. So in the 2 classes per kindergarten, for first, per second, They visited those classrooms and provided actual feedback on the spot, but also in emails. I can share some of that with you at a later time, where they provided them feedback on what they saw going well around those foundational skills and some possible next steps that they can use in the moment. So that way, we also triangulated that information and decided to create professional learning series for the instructional leads that existed at the different schools to provide them with some supports for the remainder of the school year. We also started to have conversations with the Oregon Gillingham, which is where they actually went for 5 full days of certifiable training, where they also get, I forgot to mention that, they not only got CTLE credit for those hours and days, I think it was about 20-something hours, but they also got, they're able to get college credit for those. So we're making that push for next year across the entire district. And last month I shared that it's going to be, because we can't get everybody trained all at 1 year, but in year 1, it's going to be the administration, principals, and assistant principals who haven't been trained. We're going to prioritize special ed teachers and the ICT partnerships, as well as ENL teachers or bilingual teachers first. Then the gen ed teachers will get that training after. Certainly, that's what we're prioritizing as a district. But some schools have already started taking initiative. For example, PS 38 started already training their K-2 teachers across the board for their K-2, right? So schools are going to do that, but we didn't want to burden them with having to have everybody trained, as some schools are much larger than others and the capacity might be different. But some schools have already started that training. Some schools like 321 have already had several teachers trained in the past years. We're going back to 5 years of training. So anything beyond the 5 years, we want a refresher for those particular teachers because they may not have had to teach that in such a long time. And then there's also teachers who change from one grade to the other. So we're looking at that. We've been collecting the information from Edward Oregon Gillingham as well as IMSC, because they have a transcript record that allows us to know which teachers in our districts have already had training. So you may have been a 5th grade teacher this year, but you probably got the training several years ago. And if you're in K-2, you have the training, you don't have to go through the training again unless you want it. Yeah.
I have another question.
Sure.
I do, once again, commend you for having the parent workshops in languages, Spanish.
Yeah, Spanish and Chinese. It was rough, but we had a big turnout for those too.
Yeah, so that was the question in terms of the parent workshop. They are online, is that right?
Yes, so they were, so the other workshops were all the other workshops have been virtual, and some of them have been in person. What we found was that we did the ones with the native language, whether it was Spanish or Chinese, we did those in person, and we had a larger turnout. And what we understood from the community, because this is a community conversation, is that they preferred coming in person than to have it virtual in their communities, because many of them are not technology savvy. They don't feel comfortable using the equipment. They don't want the equipment to be used in the wrong way by people snapping pictures or videos. So they felt, first of all, about coming in. We targeted the communities where they live. So a lot of our, the majority of our Chinese and Spanish speaking families live on the other end of the district. So we hosted them there, but happy to think about other ways to host them on this side. We tried to do hybrid, but most people, when we do hybrid, they don't join the hybrid. They either want to come in person or they want to be virtual. Yeah.
And Kim is a future CEC member.
Oh,
so
Congratulations.
well,
Yeah.
he's targeting questions.
It felt like CEC talk. Yeah.
Any other comments or questions from people here in person for the superintendent? Let's move to CEC. Any comments or questions? Nalda?
I think that we really, and I just want to challenge you.
Yeah.
To have some radical candor around what the Oregon Gillingham training really means. In the sense that it's wonderful that as an organization within the past 5 to 7 years, we've made such a radical shift to be aware of early reading and deep multisensory phonemic supports for kids who need to learn to read. The challenge here is that giving people a passing familiarity with Oregon Gillingham via 5 days of training in no way actually solves for the need that the 15% of kids who struggle with language-based learning disabilities need the level of support those, like teachers having an awareness of what that means for over construction, for the 15% of kids that struggle to learn to read into grade 2, of which we have those children who languish in our schools, trying to figure it out, teachers unable to help them. There are many in our schools who have 0 people actually certified in OT. So it's very splashy to say that administrators are trained and instructional leads get training, but like, let's really be honest and transparent. And I'm not saying you're not being that. I'm just inviting you to be much more so, to say, we really need at least 3 OG certified teachers in every school.
Yeah.
Because our Carter letter numbers are probably for this district in the $150 million range, right? It's between 150 and 200 million that we're paying for a cohort of students who are probably less than 400 kids to go educated privately from whenever their need is identified when their parents manage to sue the department all the way to children. And that could, you know, 150 million, 180 million could fund the budgets of 3, 4, 5 actual schools.
Yeah.
Or we could certify, I mean, it only costs $13,000 to have a teacher OG certified in a 2-year training sequence at the gold standard of practice level, supervised, mentored, whatever. And that person can intervene in the lives of hundreds of kids over the course of a career. So I just want to be like, hey, this is awesome. I'm so happy people are now like, this is in the lexicon, but can we actually have certified people doing the job? So here's my question, and I don't mean for this to be a sermon. It's just it's just like so beautiful that like it's out there, but hey, everyone, 80% of people in prison can't never learn to read. And like, this is just such a pipeline to disaster for these particular kids. So like, Raphael, for real, what is in the district's goals to say that every school is gonna have 3 people certified to do this work at the level that would be professionally required to make the life of children? Thank you.
So I thank you for your question first, and first and foremost, you know this as well as having been a former superintendent, that things don't happen in a vacuum in one particular year. It takes time to actually get people to where you need them to be. That's why it's usually considered a 3 to 5 year plan. In year 1, my plan is to get teachers at the very least, those foundational basic skills, because regardless if we have a coach in their buildings or not, they're not doing what needs to happen, which we know that based on data, right? That's the reason why we moved to the science of reading. That's the reason why there's a lot of movement in towards the direction of making sure that kids can actually read at the basic foundational skills. We know that the colleges aren't preparing teachers the way they need to because they're still using antiquated practices as it relates to practices that are necessary in order to teach teachers how to read. But let's be real. When you go to college, do they really teach you how to teach reading? No, they do not. They just don't. I know this because I still teach a course and they do not. So we know this already, right? And so as a superintendent, I have to take measures within what's my bounds. Now, part of the issue is that you also know that anywhere outside of New York City public schools, any superintendent running a district runs the budget for the whole district. In District 15 in New York City public schools, we do not run the budgets. Who runs the budget is the principal from each individual school. We've allowed principals to be autonomous to lead their own individual schools with their finances to make the decisions they want. I want an extra art teacher. I don't. I prefer a science teacher. I don't want this. I prefer an assistant principal. Now, we've been monitoring more their budgets through the CEP in alignment to our goals. If our goals are this, realistically, that is where my goal is. But I cannot start at that goal until I at the very least give the foundation across the board, because then I would have apples and oranges where one school will say, I have the budget to pay for that coach, and another school says that they don't. And that would be an inequity that is created across this district that I cannot have. So in terms of a 3 to 5 year plan, that is part of the plan in terms of making sure that eventually we have people that can sustain that work at individual schools. Because let's also be honest, and as transparent as we can be, giving people training all the time doesn't solve the problem if they decide to leave the school and go to another school and then you have to retrain somebody. It's about creating a sustainability at a school level. The first level of sustainability I have to have as a superintendent is ensuring that the principals and assistant principals know what to look for as it relates to foundational skills. They are the ones who evaluate teachers. They are charged with giving teachers ratings about how they're doing in their classrooms. In order to move the foundational skills work, I have to ensure that school leaders know how to provide feedback to their actual staff, because otherwise it just becomes feedback that's not necessarily moving the work. As a superintendent, I have been monitoring more the feedback that's being given to, for example, K-2 teachers around foundational skills. And that's how we've identified that there's a need to actually work on that. So yes, I would say that ultimately the goal, you're right, 100% is not even 3. I think there needs to be more. So there is a goal towards working towards that certification. We already have the 2 interventionalists, for example, who have not only been doing their work, they're going through the process of being certified in Wilson so that they can train those across the district on how to actually implement Wilson and be the ones to do the training. So that is the goal. We have team members on our own team that are getting this particular training so that they are certified, so that they're certified to provide certification towards the other members of the different schools. But that's a long-term plan with a budget that we don't have as a district. And so that's me working in partnership with, and Katie happens to be one of the principals on the principal's advisory, who helps advise on how to move that work forward. And because it's all in partnership. Next year, the whole idea of getting many of the people trained is from the schools collectively putting funding together, because we know that creating professional development for a larger group will cost us less than doing each individual school on their own. And the vendors know that, right? So vendors will say, okay, your school, I'll charge you $25,000 for X, Y, Z. We can now charge $25,000 for 5 schools to participate because now we're doing it collaboratively and collectively. We've also had to be flexible in which approach we take, because we have in Ecuador and Dillingham, we have IMSC. And the reason why we have to take both approaches is one is more in person, the other one allows for self-paced. And we have to create the flexibility for the different schools because District 15 is such a large district that's collaborative, but it's also very nuanced and very different at each individual school. They have their own, each school has its own individual culture that we're trying to also honor and respect as a district, while also trying to push this particular work forward. So you heard me talking about K-2 foundational skills. This is probably the first time you've heard that in a long time in District 15 in terms of focus of the work. That is what my goal is. So my goals are always usually 3 to 5 year plan because it's a 3 to 5 year plan. I'd be happy to start thinking about showing what that plan looks like in our next CEC. And I would invite to share that information with you as we work on putting that together, because it's in partnership with our administrators, because they're the ones who hold the budgets at their school. And so I have to get them on board and also get teachers on board to be able to move the work. It's the same thing we did with the Cadence and Math Growth, where we had 7 different screeners in the district. We had only 8,000 students taking it. Now we have nearly 20,000 students taking it. And now we have a better idea of what our needs are as a district. And in partnership with the principals and assistant principals and teachers, we're now able to understand what we have to put our energy in to provide the support to move the work. And part of it is ensuring that we have good, strong, concrete instruction that focuses on phonemic awareness and phonics and fluency to help develop the reading skills that kids need in order to be able to read by 3rd grade. And so that's what we're working on. So I agree with you. It was a long, convoluted answer, but I agree with you. And that is the goal to work towards. The goal is not to work towards 3. The goal is to work towards more than 3.
Okay, well, starting with you, the one.
Yes.
And I think the data is obviously there. 62% of kids meet a benchmark.
Yeah.
Like met a benchmark at our last data.
Yeah.
Like if only 62% of kids are on track with literacy in the school year, I think the case is pretty clear. They're like, yeah, we need to do some different stuff.
Yeah.
Just saying, I'm not trying to be a downer, and I'm hitting a drum that nobody wants to hear. It's just that, like, hey, 150 million for private schools is a lot going out the door.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And there's been a lot of cases in this particular district where we cater to just saying, we're going to give you non-public school. We're going to give you.
Right.
And those things.
That was Blasio's entire theme.
Those things have slowed down, right? But I will also target the other aspect of what you're saying is, remember that District 15 also has the largest number of English language learners in Brooklyn North. So to expect that a kid's going to be proficient if they're in their first year of language acquisition, that's not going to happen, right? And so realistically, are we going to get to 95% every single year? Probably not, because of the fact that English language learners learn at the rate of 3 to 5 years. So it takes a minimum of 3 years for a student to really acquire the language to be knowledgeable, to be able to move in that particular work. So that's also going to take time. That's why we've been looking at the data from a different perspective, instead of just looking at all L's, categorizing the language acquisition levels of all L's from entering all the way to expanding and then even commanding, so that we could see, are we truly making growth with those particular students? Because I measure our success as a district by the growth that we make with our students and not necessarily the proficiency that we have. If I close my eyes, District 15 will have a higher proficiency than some other districts just off the bat of who we serve, right? But if I'm looking at how are we moving kids from school to school to school, whether it's 321 or it's PS 15 or it's 676 or it's PS 94, I'm looking at how are you moving your kids from where they started with you when you got them. And that's really what I'm looking for. It's really the growth. To your point, I agree with you in that we have to find ways to move this work because it's going to continue to be stagnant if we don't. And that's why you heard some of the things that I'm trying to implement, because that's the beginning stages. Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Nancy?
Well, first, thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you. I'll be here next year.
You're still a parent, right?
Like, I'm still here. My kids are in high school now. You have a great group coming in, you have a great group continuing on. Thank you for considering challenging times. So I thank you for the support that we continue to give our LGBTQ trans kids, undocumented, our housed, and our special learners. I feel like, well, the CEC has done amazing work and, so thank you. Yeah, just signing off.
Tina?
Yeah, no questions from me today. I'm good to pass, but I do want to say thank you. Also, it's been really great to collaborate with you this year, and I've learned a lot from being able to be a part of these conversations consistently. I would just echo what Nancy said, and press on like the urgency of where we're at now and supporting the students with the greatest amount of need and their families. So I'm looking forward to brainstorming with you in the next year.
Absolutely, and I want to thank you for the feedback you gave last year, because I hope that you've seen I've been moving on some of the feedback you've been providing. And I do love the pushing and challenging, and now that you've been able to help continue to push me, and that's why some of the changes have been made from some of the pushes in terms of the conversations, the collection of certain data, and thinking about where do we move next with that work. So thank you all for that.
Just echoing the same.
Vanessa?
Just echoing the same, no questions. You're gonna have a lot of more pushing next year.
That's okay. I love it.
Antonia?
Thank you for my beautiful flowers. It's been a pleasure to work with you and all of your staff. I'm still gonna be a parent technically in the district at 497, so I hope your office is always welcome to me.
Just a reminder, the office space has been available for parents as well. So parents who need access to certain things, our office is your office.
Yeah. I was actually gonna ask a similar question as Donalda, and I thank you, Donalda, for raising that with the passion that you did. I happen to have a dyslexic child who was a Carter case. And I just want to caution everybody that Orton Gillingham really isn't, I'm happy about it. I'm great. If you guys get 3 Orton Gillingham certified teachers for school or even more than that, fantastic. But don't think it's the silver bullet for curing dyslexia, because it's a processing issue. And as long as the student has to meet these impossible Common Core standards, like they need the encoding and decoding support over their entire school career, and they may be always like a step behind their peers, and they need to be allowed to be at their own pace. And so this idea that this Orton Gillingham is just going to be the silver bullet for all our Carter cases, I think we might be disappointed.
Yeah, just so that I'm clarifying, Orton Gillingham is not the curriculum we're using. It's really just the idea of getting people trained to understand what some of the things that they need to support their foundational skills curriculum. Many of our schools are using Foundations, PAF, UFly, which are evidence-based research programs that are specifically around foundational skills. The Orton Gillingham piece comes in ensuring that people have the basic skills that they did not get in college or was provided, so that they at least understand the reasons behind the actions they're taking around foundational skills. Hegarty is also something else that we're working with, because Hegarty is our phonemic awareness. We've actually started pushing Hegarty as early as 3K and pre-K, where some of our schools are starting to get those phonemic awareness before they even get to kindergarten, which is our hope and expectation moving forward as well. So that's a lot of work that we're pushing. So I'm glad you're bringing that up to give the clarification that really Brian Dillingham is not the way we're going in terms of foundational skills, but more of getting them the foundational skills that the teachers need around the work. And to Denaldo's point, we have to get beyond that point once the teachers get there to how are we then having trainers at the schools provide that training at schools. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. I want to sixth the thanks for everything. You know, it's really truly been a pleasure working and collaborating, and you know, I think I appreciate, I know many of us appreciate how you truly listen when you are pushed and challenged, and that it's really in the best interest of our community, in our schools, and our students and our teachers. So just thank you. And I have one ask. This is to move forward. It's a very small thing, but it was actually what I kind of stepped in the presentation. As we move into the next school year, I was hoping, as someone who is in education and understand most of the acronyms, that when we go through these presentations, to explain each and every acronym. Because we have new parents and family members who show up to meetings maybe for the first time and may not know them. So even if it's explained in one meeting, we may have a new parent coming the next meeting. So just stressing, just taking the extra couple seconds to explain the acronyms.
Well, even put them on the slide, because that also helps in parentheses, so that you can get that the first time. That'll work.
Yeah, I think that'd be very helpful.
Thank you. Leslie.
I don't have any questions, but I do want to say thank you. It's been a pleasure. I've learned so much being on the CEC, and I'm very excited for the new group that's coming.
Thanks. Pardon me, I've had an incredibly rough morning dealing with DOE, P's, and family stuff. So I'm a little rattled. And I say that to say, and it's very personal. I say that to say, it's been an honor to be a part of CEC. I've learned so much, as the baby of the bunch. I was kind of thrown into the deep end in terms of information and value. As a parent who's been parenting since my 33-year-old to now my 11-year-old who has an IEP, and dealing with gen typicals totally different than dealing with children with special needs, or as I call it, different needs. Because I finally put the this and the ability, it leads to a kind of a disrespect in the back end of your mind. So I don't like to connect the dots that way. But Superintendent Alvarez, I gotta do a selfie with you. I'll fan down to you, Antonia, who's been an incredible president and leader to the group, as well as my colleagues here. I'm not gonna go through the names. They can see them on the cards. But it's been like family here, and I'm gonna miss the CEC and just the collective group of spirits and energy that is, I know and I feel are really here for the children. Like, it's not just talk service. I see the work as a parent, as somebody who's been in the trenches for years, and I'm not gonna go through the battles, but it encourages my spirit, even after this challenging day. Like, I literally walked in with tears coming through my eyes, for personal reasons, as well as just knowing this is coming to a close. And I just wanted to give you some gratitude, or rather a lot of gratitude, as well as give gratitude to my colleagues. It's been a pleasure, and I appreciate everyone here. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we move on, there's somebody here who hasn't been thanked, I think. Shanice Powell, our AA. Stand up, Shanice. These meetings could not happen without Shanice's work. There is a tremendous amount of work that goes into putting together these meetings. And she's there in the office every day. doing that work. And we just couldn't do it without you, Shanice. So thank you so much. We have our city council member, Lincoln Bressler here. I don't know if you want to.
Wanted to thank the outgoing members of the CEC for their work, especially Antonia, for many years of service. February CEC was as functional and diligent and really critical as the CEC 15. We'd have a much better school system. And I'm really grateful for just the rigor and the care that you all bring to this work day in, day out. It is, it's unheralded, but it's really valuable. And I think it's made our school district and our schools even better. So just as a small way to say thank you, we brought a citation from our office, Antonia, for you to say, express our gratitude for everything that you've done.
Thank you.
Thank you. You all know this is very like exciting to look forward to working with you all. So thank you guys. Take care. Have a great night.
All right, I think at the point in our meeting that we have a presentation from Yuet Chu from Brooklyn North. I think she's on the line.
I am. I feel like I'm crashing a party though, Antonia.
You are invited to the party, Yuet.
Oh my goodness. Good evening, District 15. Kind of proud of myself. I was trying to predict the tone for this final meeting of the school year, and I think I did it. So let me be short and sweet. Welcome to the new CEC members. Brooklyn North High School is always proud to be part of District 15. We represent the 7 districts that Raphael mentioned earlier. We serve 26,000 students from the Brooklyn Bridge to the Spring Creek Gateway Mall, 47 schools. Our attendance is at 88% and our chronic absenteeism at 34%. It's pretty close to our goal. This time of year is tough on big kids, but we're keeping an eye on them. Our district mission and vision, just setting forth young adults who are ready to pursue whatever they choose as their next step in their journeys. And then each month we always remind folks of our goals, but this month, because we love June, we're all about celebration and joy. And I do want to thank you guys, Antonia, for letting me attend virtually. We actually took our principals to Ellis Island today for our final principals conference. And it was really powerful. We went there because Superintendent Ross actually has been exploring her own ancestry and found out that her grandmother came through Ellis Island. So we started with her personal story and then engaged with the island, and a few of our principals actually were surprised. They had no idea their families came through Ellis Island. So if you guys haven't been there recently, I strongly recommend it. It was a beautiful day, so but a very long day. So first of all, thank you, District 15, CEC, and our friends on the DLT. It's been another great year of partnership and collaboration. And to echo, not to repeat, but I've appreciated the way you guys engage, the thoughtful questions, the pushes, and then also just how honest you guys all are with each other and your transparency with your community, truly to be admired. And then on a personal note, yay, Nancy! I'm so excited that you're gonna be on CCHS. I really am. When I was looking at the election results, I had to ask, I had to check to make sure it was you. So congratulations. And if you don't know Rosie, who's the family leadership coordinator in Brooklyn South, I've been telling her all about you. She's so excited. And congratulations on, I think you're entering Morrow, which is another tremendous community. So more to come on that. So June is all about celebrations. My brother's keeper, young men got together every year. At the end of the year, we always let the students share around their leadership projects and celebrate them. And this year, for the first time, the students challenged us. They came up with this idea of awarding their adult partners, their advisors, what they call Trailblazer Awards. And the first one went to Dr. Lester Young, who has been instrumental in young men's empowerment in Brooklyn North. And then they celebrated some of their advisors, including the bottom left, that's Principal Marlon Bynum of Transit Tech High School. And in the bow tie is the ever dashing Dr. Kwatang of Benjamin Banneker. I'll put this in the chat, and when you have a chance, there's a short video so you can really get a sense of the joy of the day. And then similarly, my sister's keeper, every year, our end of year culmination is a crowning. And it's the same idea. The young women get together, they share the work they've been doing all year. This year we included some student performances, and it was a beautiful afternoon. And then we also crowned Janice, here she is, queen of all whom she surveys, as well as Principal Christina Gambino, who was celebrating her anniversary as a first-year principal. And she actually hosted this beautiful event over at Thomas Jefferson campus. And then, we believe that every individual should be seen, heard, and affirmed, and that includes our grown-ups. So our May Principals Conference, we took everyone out to the Brooklyn Botanic Gardens, because if you are going to have an event in the middle of May, you got to be near the Rose Garden. So we asked each principal to bring a staff member that they wanted to honor, and spent the afternoon. I think you can feel the joy coming off the screen here. And the staff members went from band leaders to parent coordinators to a math teacher who's been doing some leadership for us in the district, assistant principals who are about to take over for the retiring principals. And at the bottom, the middle picture with Principal Bynum is actually a staff member who was a former student who came back as a sub-para and then a paraprofessional. And we were celebrating that he was just accepted into a school counselor program in Brooklyn College. So it was a beautiful day of celebration. And then my gifts to you, my parting gifts for the end of the year. You guys have heard me talk about our Morningside workshop series for caregivers. And the last session we had was about balancing the joys and stresses of caregiving. And it was a lovely evening. I'm sharing with you through this deck the presentation, and then also a reminder that Morningside is available and would love to come and offer free workshops to parents in District 15. There's a link to their website that has workshop descriptions, but I'm also sharing with you my friend Victoria's email. You can reach out to her directly. She works all the time and would be happy to plan with you all for the new year. And then just a reminder from Project Open Arms, we had our first official cases. We had 2 high school students who were taken by ICE. They were at their respective immigration appointments. So we just wanted to remind everyone that Project Open Arms is out there. They're still updating their website almost every day. They're running resource fairs, know your rights trainings. They have very quick access to legal supports, whether it's through Moya or through community organizations like the New York City Immigrant Coalition. They're here and they work all summer. So if you need them, both Raphael and myself would be happy to connect you. But do bookmark their website because they are continuing to be a presence to remind everyone in the New York City public schools community that we are here for them, for you. And then similarly, we've been getting some questions from parents about like, what do I do with my kid now that summer's coming? So there is actually a page on the New York City Public Schools website that again is updated very frequently, and especially right now. It's called Student Opportunities. There's a link here for you when you get the deck. And just lots of like great things. You know, this is the greatest city in the world, and lots and lots of offerings for students of all ages. So that is kind of my gift to you for the summer, to check this website and make some connections. I picked up this one just because, you know, giving kids a chance to express themselves in all sorts of different ways. But this particular workshop includes things like anime that, as a mom of boys, well, now they're men, but a mom of former boys, I'm always looking for activities that would I call boy friendly. But there are lots more on this webpage, and when you get a chance, take a look. And then a few parents had asked us to remind them about the region schedule, so we are deep in it. Last week, the new regions were administered, and today we started with English Language Arts and Living Environment, and it's pretty heavy this entire week. So just so you guys are aware of what's going on in our high schools this week. And then as always, just ending with our data. Very excited to come back to you guys in the fall because we're expecting both Cobble Hill and CASA to have significant improvement in their graduation rate. And you guys met Valerie Wap when she first became a principal, and I'm happy to announce that in her second year, CASA was selected as a future ready school and will be pursuing a CTE track in addition to all of the amazing arts work that they do with their students. And just, you know, and again, like, thank you to the CEC for supporting John Jay Campus and Sunset Park High School. And of course, DTEC was grateful for your advocacy about the space in their building. So as always, different ways to stay in touch with us. And that is all I have for you with my gratitude.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions for UF? We'll start with those on Zoom. It was perfection. Anybody on the Mandarin line with a comment or question?
No comment in the Mandarin line.
Any comments or questions on the Bangla line?
No questions or comments.
Any comments or questions on the Spanish line?
There are no questions or comments.
Are there any questions or comments from people here in person? Move to CEC comments and questions. Kwame, you want to go first?
Excellent job. Excellent working with you. Have a good summer.
Thank you, Kwame.
Seconding that, thank you, Yuet, for all that you do. You're amazing. Look forward to continue working with you. You're the best. And Raphael, you as well.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you, Yuet. I've always appreciated your sunny optimism in all of your presentations, and I know that it's been hard for you to get to our meetings at night, living as far away as we live, but we really do appreciate you giving us the high school perspective. I think it's really important for elementary and middle school parents to have that frame of reference. And I hope your door is always open to me as a incoming high school parent. Can I ask you, what do you attribute the increase in graduation rate at the two schools that you mentioned?
It's actually very similar to like the strategies that Raphael's been talking with you guys a lot, right? Like research-based strategies that address individual kids' needs. So for the high school and you know, it's just paying attention, right? Like depending on where Antonia is between now and when she's expected to graduate on time in 4 years, what are roadblocks getting in the way? And then how do we address them? How do we, is it, you know, at the high school level, it's really kind of getting beyond the curriculum and remembering that like usually it comes down to a skills gap, like something that was overlooked in middle school or something that wasn't strengthened. And just like with the little kids, it's about intervention, not pulling Vanessa out of class, right? Because that's stigmatizing and you never want to do that to high school kids, but how can Jonathan push in and partner, but know you well enough that the strategies, how he's, and it's with big kids, we think about it as coaching, right? Like if you guys have kids on sports teams, like watch the coach, like watch how they give feedback, and kind of applying those strategies to our kids. I guess to summarize, like it's really about paying attention. And I think with big kids, it becomes easy to not pay attention.
Thank you.
Vanessa?
I just want to thank you. You connected the dots for a district that is normally more focused on younger kids and provided that perspective into the high school arena where we're supposed to be looking for in a very seamless way. So I really appreciate it. And I appreciate just how bubbly your personality is. Sometimes the meetings can drag on and you always like bring that renewed energy. So it's been a pleasure working with you over the last few years. Thank you.
Yeah, same. Thank you so much, Yuet. You know, I know a lot about education and still New York City's high school system is very opaque to me. So I've learned a lot listening to you. Really appreciate the time and energy that you bring to these meetings, especially when you have to wait so long to present. So thank you and looking forward to continuing working with you next year.
And I'm going to jump in before I forget. Antonia, when you were explaining ranked choice voting, I thought, oh my God, she needs to coach parents how to handle high school applications because I've never heard it explained so clearly. So we'll talk.
Yeah.
Coffee.
New job. Your post-retirement job.
Yeah.
Nancy?
Yuet, it's been a real pleasure working with you. I really appreciate your commitment and I look forward to our continued work together. Have a great summer.
Thank
you.
Hey girl, I want to say thanks for always centering kids and all the people who work so hard to serve them. And I hope the best summer possible. Thank you.
Leslie?
Hi, Yuet. Thank you so much. I've learned so much from you over the last couple of years. I just had a son who graduated from high school, and I felt like having you as a touchstone to sort of like explain to me like what's happening in my son's school and get a bigger picture of a high school experience and how to support. And I just so appreciate you and, thank you.
Thank you. One last question.
Congratulations,
How's your foot?
I'm not
Thank you.
limping anymore, Jonathan.
Okay, good. I was concerned. I'm glad you're better.
Thank you. Jonathan was there for my moment of weakness after I overdid it in Denmark. So don't feel sorry for me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brad.
Thank you, Antonia. I'm not kidding. I got some 8th grade parents who can use your clarity.
That's when you think you're out, they drag you back. So at this point, I want to invite our newly elected CEC members to invite them to introduce themselves. Obviously, we know Jonathan and we know Katina, but I know we have Ms. Wanless here. Do you want to stand up and say hello and just say, a couple of things?
Well, this is exciting for me. I'm a parent of a 10-year-old boy, and I don't know anything else but education. I started as a teacher at 22 years old, and I am retired. Well, the Department of Education, University Public Schools, whatever you want to call it. And I enjoy contributing to his school, and I hope to make an impact, not only in District 15, but for the city. And one thing that I really admire about this CEC, and in line with 2 others, is that you actually make resolutions that impact citywide issues, not just District 15. So applause to that.
Thank you. I think we have a couple of people in the Zoom who are newly elected folks. Let me see. Kara Zwirling, do you want to unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi. I hope you can hear me. I think my earbuds are about to die. But hi, I'm Kara Zwirling Moeller. There is an R that has been dropped off of every communication for my name. But yeah, I'm really happy, honored to serve. I am a parent of 2 kids at PS 154, 4th grade and 1st grade. And just thank you. I look forward to thank you for everyone who is going off of the board for the work that you've done. And I look forward to meeting all of the new board in the
Great, thank you.
That earbuds did die.
Did die,
Yeah.
all right, we have Elton Dodson.
Hey, everybody. It's good to see everyone. I'm afraid to say that I'm about to run out of my only excuse for not coming to CEC meetings in person. Thanks a lot, Vanessa. So I guess I will be at these meetings in person from now on. It's such an honor to be able to be a part of a group that I sincerely look up to so much. The amount of time that volunteer parents in our district put into making sure our schools and our children are centered is stunning. Antonia, I don't imagine any CEC in the district that has been as well run or has had a president that's willing to devote so much of yourself and your spirit to the body. I don't understand how it's going to function without you. But there's so many great people remaining on the CEC that I'm sure that we will do everything we can to honor the legacy and the work that you have left. And I know you won't be far away, so I take comfort in that. I'm coming off of my time as a couple years as co-president on the District 15 President's Council and coming out of many years at PS 295 and being on the SLT there for many years and the PTA president there. And it's just like a chapter that's closing. It's a school that I love very, very much. And just am glad to have this opportunity to continue to advocate for our kids and for our schools. So I'll see you all soon.
All right, let's see who else is on here. Ching Jia Zhu. Would you like to speak?
Yes. And how's everyone? My name is Qing Xia Zhu. I'm glad to be a part of District 15. I have 继续说。
我有2个孩子都在 PS 169读。
I have
我的
two.
小女儿是
I have.
24周早
Okay.
产，
等一下。
经历了不少挑战。
I have 2 children at 在哪里？重复是你做慢一点哦，我帮你翻译。PS 169. They attending PS 269. My daughter is like early birth for 24 months. 24 months.
24 weeks.
24周早产。
24周早产儿。
Yeah, 24 weeks early birth. 继续。
经历了不少挑战，如精英健康。
等一下。
进入幼儿园。
Yeah, I experience many things, many challenge.
这个经历让我更坚强，让我深刻体会到社区支持的力量。
And that made me stronger, and also I realized the community helped. The energy, the help is really encouraged me.
为了更好的陪伴孩子成长，我加入了 CFL 家庭服务中心。
I joined
参加了 Rise Up 社区研究小组。
哪里？什么中心？
社区研究小组。
I joined the community group, study group. 继续。
和不同文化背景的邻居们一起学习对话发声。
等一下。And I communicate with different people from different culture in the group.
这一路，我从一位需要支持的家长，成为一个愿意倾听、愿意行动的社区参与者。
From a parent who need help, and I became a person who wanted to participate and also wanted to communicate with people.
作为一位母亲，我希望社区能为孩子提供一个安全、自由成长环境。
As a mother, I wanted to provide a safe environment for kids to grow.
以及像社交情绪学习这样的课程，帮助孩子们健康全方面的发展。
Such as 什么课程？
社
社交情绪学习这样的课程。
Such as social emotional whole class, and then can help kids to grow.
我其实更担心的是，小孩子读入初中的时候，因为近2年来，我觉得校园霸凌这个让我很揪心。
校园什么？听不清楚。
校园霸凌。
校园欺凌。
霸凌。
Okay. Okay. When they're entering middle school, I worry about bullying.
我希望学校除了知识教育之外，也能教育孩子一些自我保护技巧。
Okay. Besides education giving the education class to the children in school, and I also hope that the school can also teach them how to protect themselves.
比如防身课如何去解决问题。
Such as self-defense class and how to solve problem.
希望孩子能多接触一些有意义的事情。
And I also hope that children can expose to meaningful things.
比如做一些义工，参加公益，这样不仅能保护自己，也会学会关心别人。
And such as volunteer jobs or works, and besides, know how to protect themselves, and also 什么？还有什么？除了保护自己，还有什么？也可以
关心别人。
And also care for others.
而且我也很关注特殊教育，因为我的女儿以前是有 IEP 的。
And I also care about IEP, special education, because my daughter, 儿子还是女儿？你女儿？
女儿。
And my daughter had IEP before.
现在她已经转成 ELL 了，我很庆幸小孩子的成长过程得到了帮助。
Now she's at ELL. So I'm glad that my daughter received help throughout her life before.
希望在 CEC 这个平台上，听听更多家长的声音，推动我们学校不断进步。
And I also wanted to hear from CEC board that can help us children, and then they can grow and then and get better every day in school.
谢谢大家。
Thank you. Go ahead. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We look forward to meeting all of you in person. I don't see anybody else in the chat who is newly elected. I just want to have one final public comment before we close out the meeting.
Great.
Yeah.
Are there any last comments from people joining us on Zoom? Anybody on the Spanish line?
No comments in the Spanish line.
Anybody on the Bangla line?
No question or comment on the Bangla line.
Anybody on the Spanish line?
Don't think in the Spanish language.
Oh, I already asked Spanish. It's been a long day. Anybody on the Mandarin line?
No more comments from the Mandarin line.
Thank you. Any comments from people here in person? Yes.
So at the end of the long school year, I really want to just take a moment to thank the members of the CEC for all the hard work that you do. I see it firsthand, day in, day out. It's often a thankless job, you know, protecting the school system, fighting for equity, making sure that our schools are the best they can be. And I know sometimes it's boring, and sometimes it's scary, and sometimes it's just a lot of emotional stress for you. What I don't think it is often enough is zany.
These are troublemakers, and we're gonna put you on a timer.
Members of the CEC, the Statue of Liberty over there. My own reflection on the big screen. So I'd like to start this out by saying, by quoting Paul, who once said in a TikTok like a month ago, I believe that the children are our future. With this in mind, I would like to call into question the funds we are denying our city's children for materials, book bags, shoes, typewriters, whatever. Funds which are now in the current moment being used to fund one of the biggest conspiracies in the entire school system. Those big parachutes, you know, that you have in like the gym, and you lift up and run underneath them. You know those ones, right? You think, oh, these are fun, they're harmless fun for kids. No. So-called parachutes, trap people. My friend and former parolee here was trapped for 3 days underneath one of these parachutes. And it was in this very gym, this gymnasium that we stand in right now. Big parachute industry, that is, would have you believe that this was an accident. It was not. As a matter of fact, the CECF, not related to you guys, it's for the Chuck E. Cheese Foundation. Over 10 cases of kids, like my friend here, getting stuck under big, colorful parachutes. I beg of you to take desperate action immediately to stop this madness. And, you know, we are the world, and we are.
Thank you. I propose that the next council pass a resolution banning big parachutes.
Yeah. I will contact you personally.
And I'm closing this meeting out at 9.
No. There may be others.
There may be others. Oh, okay. Oh.
Shanice.
On behalf
You
of
really want to answer your daughters?
CEC and myself, we want to present you this beautiful plaque here and these beautiful flowers. This position does not get as much recognition as it deserves. You are the epitome of an effective leader. Thank you for your dedicated hard work, working late nights and many days for free. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. Thank you for being knowledgeable in the concerns and in the history of this district and all things educational and political, and the list can go on. Thank you for your patience and your kindness with me and with every council member that has gotten a seat on this council across the years. You are a no-nonsense leader for sure, and just thank you for going above and beyond for us.
All right, maybe a picture.
Thank Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Can I close out the meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, more fun?
Thank you for all you're saying.
Guys, we're not done yet. Okay.
So since you don't get paid for this job, you thought. Honor that. And.
Advocate, everybody can advocate.
Yep.
Well, I hope everybody does, I hope everybody does.
Yeah.
Because Shanice, I want Shanice, yeah, I don't know, Shanice is part of it, and it's really hard.
Those needs to be next one.
Yeah, I think the comment here.
Those needs to.
Yes, I can do that.
Everybody is. That's fine. All right.
Awesome. One more.
Thank you. Make sure you send me that picture. All right, this meeting is closed now, and, what time is it? 9:19. Okay. Good night, everybody on the Zoom. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Good night.
Great summer. And,
So I look right that.
You guys close that, you didn't close that mission, right?
I closed it out.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, and then I think you close out our meeting.
yeah, you know. Everything's put together. But they all right, once you get, we have to be. Oh, we're going to.
So we're adjourned.
Very true.
We are adjourned now. Thank you.
Thank you.